inspiration for real-world applications, ranging from physics to geosciences, so he's truly a multidisciplinary researcher. And today he will highlight international work attributed to preserve our cultural heritage through remote sensing in collaboration with archaeologists.
Thanks so much. Thanks for your interest in this presentation. Indeed, I'm going to take you a little bit back in time today. This is collaborative work with IBM Watson Research Center in the US, Colorado State University, and also Yamagata University in Japan, where I'm a visiting professor. First of all, I'm going to show you a map. I like maps a lot, and I also like to show maps not the usual way. Actually, the Australian people, they even put Australia in the center. So here are the institutions that are involved. IBM Research, Helmholtz AI, of course, otherwise I wouldn't be here or been invited. And there's Yamagata University in Japan and Colorado State University. And now 3 dots on where I'm gonna take you today. From the audience, for the very leftmost, where is this most likely? Hopefully you didn't read the abstract. Anyone? You can just shout it out. Israel? Israel, good, 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 good. Then to the very right, Mexico, obviously, and to the top, Peru, yes, correct. Okay, good. And very specifically, we're going to go to the Negev desert to find something about ancient terraces. In Mexico, we're going to dive into the jungle to look into an ancient settlement called Angamaku. And maybe you've heard about the Nazca Pampa and these geocliffs called the Nazca Lines. This is where we're going to go in the very end. Okay, first of all, I need to introduce you a little bit to the data modality that I'm using for remote sensing. So this talk is about remote sensing and remotely supporting archaeologists in finding essentially the needle in the haystack. And one modality that is super useful to archaeologists and also in general for other applications in urban areas where I also do some research on urban forests, for example, is so-called LiDAR. And if I need to explain it to my kids, I'm just telling them, you know, you take a laser pointer, go on an airplane and shoot it down. And what can you do with it? I try to visualize it here. So this green laser, typically they're infrared lasers, so you can't even see them. They just go down with the speed of light, get reflected by an obstacle like a leaf, a branch, or maybe in the end by the ground. And this is what happens. You send out a laser pulse, like a flash, and you get back and record back a couple of flashes. And these come in different times because speed of light is, has a finite speed. And with this, you can just simply compute the distance and get essentially a 3-dimensional point cloud. And if you have the latest and greatest phone at your fingertip, then you have this LiDAR scanner in your pocket as well. I won't talk about which company that is, but it's maybe obvious. These LiDAR scanners, the only limitation for them is their intensity in the sense that they can reach something like 3 meters apart, and the airborne LiDAR lasers that we use, first of all, they cost $500,000. Hopefully the cost comes down, and this will be also very helpful for more broad range scans of larger areas. But independent of that, they record all of these points, and for face recognition, you can use them, for example, I'm not sure if I can play a video here. There is actually a nice song. Okay, Google House of Cards, and you can just see it yourself. So there is even musicians that use the technology in their music videos. And in practice, it looks like this. So in the first stage, I'm gonna kind of separate this 3-dimensional point clouds into a surface, so into the ground reflectance, which essentially means this is the last reflected point that you get. So the ones that goes most far away from your laser that is mounted to the airplane. The others we discard and tell them, okay, it's trees. You can also analyze the trees, but in our case, we just want to get rid of them because we want to analyze the ground. And a first step in order to go from these disordered point clouds to computer vision, you can essentially do statistics over these points. So what you do is you can take, let's say, a square meter and count in that square meter how many points there are. how many returns you got from the single laser flash that you sent out, what's the statistics of the distances, and this tells you already quite a lot. So I did all of these different statistics, 3 of them, you can see them. In red, it's just subtracted the global terrain, and in green and blue, you get the statistics for the distances and the return count, which is the number of reflected back flashes that you get. And from these, you can simply already see from these 3-dimensional pseudo-color RGB that you can classify trees. Most of the blue stuff is trees. Green is buildings, and red is now the global terrain. And funnily, mostly these lasers get absorbed by water, so you can even see swimming pools. That is, for example, useful if you are interested in taxing people and know if they properly declare their swimming pools in the backyard. Okay, but let's go now to archaeology. So our first journey sends us to Mexico, into the forest and jungle, and there exactly LiDAR lasers help in removing the trees virtually. Sometimes you can't even, you're not allowed to cut out all the trees, and in other cases you don't want to cut them out. And so let's do it virtually. On the right-hand side, left-hand side, sorry, there is just a photo of that area, so it's not LiDAR data yet. To the right, you have the LiDAR point cloud I introduced. Let's remove the trees. Looks like this. It's a disordered kind of set of points. Do an interpolation to get a regular grid in the terrain model. Ends up with this, and whoo, here we are. After global terrain removal, you see much more clearer what's there. And then to the very top left, you see, for example, a pyramid. That's a Mexican pyramid, not an Egyptian pyramid. You can see altars, etc., collapsed building structures. And these are very hard to see on the ground because everything is kind of overgrown with bushes, and certain humps and bumps you do not visually connect by them being obstructed and be very faint. And generating these images helps a lot. And then, of course, for a small area, you could just visually survey it from these images. But if you're going to go large scale, you better want to do that automatically. And this is where computer vision and AI kicks in. And then you get some annotations from the archaeologist. And one big challenge here is the low signal to noise ratio. A lot of data with a lot of false positives. And so you are looking for the needle in the haystack. And here, the major challenge is not to have the perfect accuracy in terms of F1 score with close to 1. More like you want to capture all the relevant structures where the archaeologist afterwards going to check on the ground. That's your verification. But you don't want to send them everywhere. But still you want to include everything. So that's kind of like the trick. And then you discuss with them how much they are willing to go to, how much they are unhappy, how their mood drops, how long you send them to incorrect places, right? So it's a trade-off. And you stay in good touch with them, and then everything's fine. But here you can see in the first and second row how challenging this can be. I tried to pair true buildings on the grounds with kind of false positives. So it's not that easy for the machine learning algorithm to detect. Okay, now you understand low signal to noise. That's the challenge for AI there. Let's go to the Negev desert, where you can use another funny trick where you compute computer vision with how structures on the surface grow depending on what's underground. So more specifically, in that Negev desert, they have these terraces. Here you see something explicit where you just even stumble over, so it's easy to detect. But then what happens is, so first of all, why are these terraces there? From the mountains comes some rain, and they used it to guide the rain step by step through terraces down to the valley, and on the route, this water is being used to water plants. And okay, I have to speed up. And so what you do here is some of these terraces are underground, and they capture the water much more nicely, and then plants grow much better in this area. And then you can indirectly from these correlations infer where something is planted. All right, terrain model on top, go. Okay, because I'm running out of time, let me speed up. Last one, we had actually an AI, Helmholtz AI challenge on that, and here are my students that helped with this, and it was big fun. Last one, caught some news in Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung and some other news, which you might know, including Science, The Guardian, New York Times, etc. So this was a big deal. These are these geoglyphs geoglyphs, Nazca lines in Peru. And the problem is not to identify the big ones, but more the small ones that are super faint. I have been actually there, and it was a challenge to go. So when we went with the archaeologist behind him, he said, "Stop, here's something," and I didn't see anything. So it's really challenging. But even for the big structures, it looks with OpenStreetMap like this. There is the challenge that sometimes there's flash floods, and you want to prevent that these gets washed away. And then you, again, use your LiDAR data, you model a terrain model, you add some physics, and then you can see where things would get washed away. But to get you an idea, this is Google Earth Engine. You can go online and do it yourself. Find the geoglyph. Who finds it? You have 30 seconds because I'm running out of time. Find it? It's there. Do you see that? Okay. So that's the challenge, okay? And then archaeologists go on the ground and check that there is certain potteries in that area. So this is then the double check, because there's also people going in that area. It's an UNESCO World Heritage protected site, but people go and scrape and try to do new ones, but the trick is to find some ancient pottery there. Okay, they could also relocate it, but most of them guys don't know. Now you know, but hopefully you don't go there. Okay, this is details, because I'm running out of time. Let's not go to this. This is the kind of water washing away thing, so then you can try to change that by, there's the geoglyphs are. And with this method, we found essentially 300 new geoglyphs that you can see here, located, some of them located close to each other, in half a year compared to the same amount. 300 geoglyphs were found in 20 years by the archaeologists. So it's a huge speed up. And this is why we got a lot of attention and also a prize for that. Here are some of them. For more details, come see me after that session. Thanks so much for your attention.
Any questions for Conrad? So I have one question. You mentioned you subtract a digital elevation model. I didn't fully get how that is created.
From the LiDAR data, no?
As well.
Yeah.
So isn't that a problem with that it's kind of the same data source, or is it different?
No. What do you mean by subtract?
Now you calculate the difference to this is how I got it. You subtract also the so you kind of flatten it. Or maybe that I misunderstood it.
Are we talking about the very beginning where you saw that image with all of these buildings? And
yes, exactly.
No, what I did is you remove the global terrain, so you take a smoothened version of that terrain model.
Smoothened version. Okay, then I get it.
Such that you only have the local bumps which you would use stumble.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, then I get it. Okay, it's a smoothed out version.
Yeah.
All right. If there are no additional questions, then let's thank Conrad again.